Good night and good morning to everyone. This is update for May 14, 2022, day 80 of the war, end of the date update. So we're gonna, as always, we're gonna do a strategic part, and then we're gonna do walk through the front line. For those who are impatient and just want to know what's going on with the front line, essentially it's World War One type of day, which is a meat grinder with almost no changes to the front line. So you are safe to skip the rest of the video if you just want to see what's going on with the front line. Otherwise, we're going to do a walk through the front line for those who are just joining and new to the channel. Now let's go back to the strategic situation. And strategic situation, we're going to look actually at the Russian oil production and what's happening there, because that's one of the, it's something that affects everyone on this planet, let's put this way. So Russian oil production peaked in February of this year at slightly above 10 million barrels per day, about 10.1, maybe 10.15. Then in March, it dropped to slightly above 10, just right above the 10. And then in April, it's going to be firmly under 10, just let's say 9.9, something like that. And in May, it's going to drop even like to 9.8 or something like that. But the more important is the expectation of the drop, like the drop will accelerate, especially in July, August, September, October timeframe. And the expectation that Russian oil production will drop to about 7.5 million barrels per day. So as you can see, sort of world supply will lose about 25% from Russia, right? So that's probably will have significant impact on the prices of oil, obviously, but more importantly, oil, product of oil distillation, which is gasoline, jet fuel, and diesel, which is what mostly used in the economy. So that really means that current high prices for gasoline and diesel fuel at the gas stations will probably stay high and very likely to go even higher, especially in the mid of the summer and towards an early fall. So that's on the negative, and that's really gonna increase inflation everywhere around the world, because behind every unit of GDP there is unit of energy, right? And if the energy is going up in price, so therefore it will increase inflation everywhere pretty much. What did also another sort of consequence of that is that probably interest rates are gonna go up in the US, and Federal Reserve will be forced to increase interest rates in order to fight this inflation. So which again may, push world economy into recession. So that's kind of very gloomy scenario that very likely to play out, given what's going on right now in this war. Now let's actually switch to the front lines and look. We're gonna walk through in a clockwise fashion. We're gonna start with Kharkiv, as always we do, and then we're gonna go south, and then we're gonna go west. So let's see what's going on there. Again, Ukrainian side almost cleared out Russian buffer, but there's no progress today, right? So everything remains the same. But it's this buffer is being kind of like lines held by screening troops. So we think in the next week or so this will be cleared out, and Ukrainian troops will get to the state border here in this area. Now let's go south, and let's see what's going on here on the Izyum bridgehead. Which, as for those who are new, we just want to explain the significance of the Izyum bridgehead. So as you can see, there is this Donbas, we call it Donbas salient. See, this kind of like a wedge that's controlled by Ukrainian troops, and Russian side is attempting to cut it off. And for that, it's trying to form two pincers. One that's originating from Izyum bridgehead and goes south, and then another one that originates here in Zaporizhzhia region and goes north. So the idea is that they eventually meet together, and Ukrainian troops will be encircled. And as you can see, there's a lot of Ukrainian troops. Essentially, we don't know we're not ready to say, but it's at least 50% of Ukrainian army is concentrated in this Donbas salient or nearby, or maybe even more. That's just rough, just looking at this picture, that's all. Our take on this situation is that Russian troops will not be able to do this encirclement. They just don't have power anymore. They're pretty exhausted at this point. And so this fight to create encirclement is switching to the tip of the Donbas salient, which we call Severodonetsk salient, which is around here. And we'll get there once we're gonna go walk through the front line. But let's now look at the Izyum bridgehead, which is important, and let's see at the big picture what's happening here. So this is a very high level. So as you can see, this is Izyum bridgehead, and so Russian side, concentrated troops there, and there are also all of these other units that are worn out, but they were here, and we're not sure at this point if they're still there or they were withdrawn for refitting purposes. Nevertheless, this is what fresh Russian brigades here at this one. And then, as you can see, there's quite a bit of Ukrainian brigades. Some of them are quite sort of beaten down and exhausted, specifically 95th Brigade, which was here essential almost from the start. 25th Brigade, some sort of battalions. It's not entire 25th Brigade, but some battalions of the 25th Brigade. Then 81st Brigade as well. 93rd is probably in a little bit better shape relative to the rest of them. And then 14th Brigade we understand it was refitted after the fighting west of Kiev, so it's probably in pretty good, fresh shape. At the same time, 79th Brigade got beaten down pretty badly here on Lyman bridgehead. So let's actually let's have a close look at what's going on here. So this is Izyum bridgehead, as you can see. So now we can put all of those units here on the same sort of on the bridgehead. So as you can see, Russian progress from yesterday was capturing this village Dovhenke, and even then, from what we're hearing, they don't have full control over the entire village. So it seems like that they captured majority of it, but we kind of show it as if all of it is captured right now. So otherwise today there's no changes on this bridgehead. Now let's have a look on Ukrainian bridgehead on their eastern side of the Severodonetsk river, and we call it Lyman bridgehead. Here again, there's no progress it's been kind of the same situation for a while already. We don't even know, probably 10 days or so. So situation here is stable so far, and it does look that Russian troops are exhausted and they don't have enough new resources to continue attacks. And let's actually now let's look at the tip of this Donbas salient, and we call it Severodonetsk salient, which is almost right there. This is where we looked, and it's pretty much continuation of the same front line. So you can even see 79th Brigade here again. So what happened here over past, let's say 7 days, is the Russian troops tried to establish bridgehead. This is Severodonetsk river here. And they tried to establish bridgehead. They tried several, all locations they could. They established bridgehead in the village of Bilogorivka. However, Ukrainian side destroyed the pontoon bridge and actually destroyed it a couple times. They tried to establish again, and they would, Ukrainian side would destroyed again. In the process, they destroyed around 100 pieces of equipment, right? Like meaning armored equipment, tanks, armored vehicle, armored infantry carriers, and things like that. So that's a pretty significant loss for the Russian side, and we believe that this kind of creates a situation that there is pretty much not much power, like extra resources left to continue attacks here from the northern side. Maybe they will try something weaker, but at this point, chances of success are close to zero for the Russian side, and especially since Ukrainian army brought in 58th Brigade here, so there is better situation. And 58th Brigade was refitted. It also participated in fighting around Kiev. It was in Kiev East. So our understanding, it was refitted, so it's relatively fresh. So given that it didn't sustain much of the losses and Russian troops sustained quite heavy losses, the chances of success are quite low. We also want to mention, if we look at the big picture, there's also 46th Brigade here that has not participated in any of this fighting. So that's another like last resort reserve that Ukrainian army has here, and it's probably somewhere in this area. We don't know where exactly, but it's somewhere floating around. So there is, it does look like Russian troops are pretty much done trying to create encirclement here. They did succeed, as you can see a little bit here. Now the fighting is on approaches of village Komyshevakha. So the idea was, again, to create a southern and northern pincer. This would be northern pincer, and this would be southern, and they would meet somewhere and create encirclement. All like 57th Brigade, 56th Brigade, probably portions of the 17th Tank Brigade, portions of the 24th Brigade. But we believe that this chances of this happening at this point are very, very extremely low. Let's say less than 20%. This is obviously our subjective estimate. We don't have any factual, but based on what we're seeing here, this is probably not happening. Russian troops continue pressure on Ukrainian troops in town of Severodonetsk. Whether Ukraine will be able to hold on to it or not is actually questionable. This is actually maybe where the Russian troops might have some success eventually if they put enough pressure here. Then again, if you go towards south, never-ending attacks of Russian troops on Toshkivka, on Orykhove, without much success. So far, this initial success was stopped in tracks here near Komyshevakha, and there was no new progress here. That probably means that this is the southern pincer is also kind of done at this point. Let's continue. Let's look. Actually, this is the same front line. Again, this town of Popasna. We just show a little bit more of the south here. What's going on to the south? There's not much here. Just stable front line, basically. Now let's. This section of the front line is stable. There is no attacks or counterattacks, so we kind of skipping it. It's just artillery shelling, basically artillery attacks, like rocket attacks, air attacks, but there's no frontal attacks or anything like that. So for that reason, we're skipping that. And then we're gonna look at the situation straight west of Donetsk here. So Russian side, this is the only true kind of change for the day-to-day, is that it seems that Russian side is captured either all of the village of Novobahmutivka or portion of it. It's unclear what they captured, but they made some progress, and that really means the progress in terms of distances. It's about they captured, about 1 kilometer of the territories that Ukraine was controlling. So it's not huge progress, but nevertheless, it's a major kind of front line for Ukraine here, where they have strongholds, and if Russian forces manage to make penetrations through it, then it's going to be much easier to continue kind of attacks out once you get through the main front line. Beyond that, the attacks were on town of Avdiyivka, which is actually important industrial town. There is a coke producing plant there, which is that coke is used for production of steel. Then there are attacks on Maryinka, this is village here, and then also on Novobahmutivka, but there is no progress there. Also, yesterday Russian side captured village Pavlivka here, southwest of Vuhledar, and now they actively shelling Vuhledar, apparently trying to soften defenses for the future attack on it. So now let's actually look at this Zaporizhzhia front line. We're going to look at their eastern section where the Russian side is trying to form southern pincer here. So as you can see, this wedge formation is initial stages of attempt to form that southern pincer, but it was again stopped by Ukrainian side by bringing in 128th Brigade and Azov Kiev Regiment. After that, progress of the Russian side has not essentially, but totally stopped. So we believe that at this point the balance of power is more or less equal, and there is nothing Russian side can do unless they bring new fresh units here, which is, in our opinion, chances of that at this moment very, very extremely low, given that all of the free resources of Russian army available are exhausted at this point. And that what this means, we just want to make it clear so everybody understands. That means that without doing mass mobilization or bringing new conscripts to the army, Russian, all of the battle sort of ready troops of the Russian army are essentially committed in Ukraine at this point, or have been committed and now withdrawn for refitting purposes. Beyond that, there is nothing changed here, except we heard there's heavy shelling of Hulyai, but that just sort of kind of, well, I guess expected or normal against along all of the front line. And this is how the Zaporizhzhia front line looks at the big picture. So again, we looked at this wedge here, you see, that's where we were. Now this is Hulyai. This is very important stronghold for Ukrainian army. Then there's another important Orikhiv, and then there's one more Kamensky. So let's keep going. Now we're gonna look at the situation at Kherson bridgehead. Let's see what's going on there. So here we see very stable situation. From what we know, Russian troops are digging in. They keep this bridgehead on their other side, on their western bank of the river, Snegurivka, for the future, if they decide to continue attacks. So that would be springboard for future attacks. Otherwise, at this point, here Russian side is on strategic defensive, and all they want is just to protect Kherson and protect this freshwater channel, which we mentioned before many times, that this is extremely important for military and economic purposes for Russia, because it feeds fresh water to Crimea, and without that fresh water, Crimea is essentially not sustainable economically, population-wise, and military-wise. So, well, military maybe they can if they remove most of the population. So that's kind of how it works. So that's it. And then we just want to mention that the 14th Brigade looks like it was transferred to Izyum bridgehead, which was showing it there. So that's why we kind of show it this line going there. So that's it for tonight. And until tomorrow, thanks for watching. Bye bye.